Hello, everyone. I'm Anthony.
And I'm Eric.
Yeah, we're together.
What's going on?
So, you're not...
Total football talk.
Not double vision. I know we look alike, except I got a beard.
And I would need glasses.
That's true. And my hat's better. But other than that...
Well, you got me this hat, so it actually is kind of the same.
That's kind of true.
And the jersey, too.
So, you guys don't have to worry about audio. I don't want to hear another comment about the audio for right now, because for this week, we're good. You got your phone?
It's over there.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It's all right. It's all up here.
That's comforting. Okay, so we're going to do free agent conversations. I'm going to throw in some releases, too. I think are kind of interesting. Then we're signed later on. Show's pretty simple today, boys and girls and ladies and gentlemen. And if you're somebody that doesn't identify as either, then go ahead and hit the exit button and go watch somebody else. Now, that being said...
we could talk about free agents and releases and trades. Don't forget trades.
Oh, has it
for
been?
like three hours.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. So we're going to hit each one. I think Buffalo's actually really done well.
Okay.
I really like what Buffalo's done. We'll talk about a few things that, maybe that'll be a segment where we'll kind of pick our preferred teams that we think had a really good free agency. Obviously, we're going to cover the Rams and the Bears. Yeah, so I say 30 minutes, but then it always ends up being what?
2 hours and 30 minutes.
Yeah, usually.
He talks too much.
I talk too much. How many times do you see me doing this? I'll wait. It's fine. Okay, I'm not.
Hold that. Do you feel better? Do you feel better? Okay.
All right. We're going to have a lot of shows this week since Eric's in town. So I might spread these out over a couple of weeks. But also we're going to do a call-in. There will be one call-in where I'm going to have LT call in so the three of us can actually be live and talking.
Which will be fun.
A lot of fun. Okay. So let's start with my beloved Rams. So I'm going to state a few things. The John Sullivan release is something that worries me. I'm not a big fan of releasing John Sullivan. I know he's up there in age. He's a good center, but it does give this kid Allen, the kid we got from Michigan State, an opportunity to see what he can do, and the Rams do need to get younger on the O-line. That's unequivocally been an issue. Now, there's rumor, though, that we're going to lose Roger Saffold as well. So, for me...
He's been released.
Is he already been released? So, yeah, now we're hurting. So, guys, I told you after the Super Bowl that we need to win it because we wouldn't go back the next year. Breaking news, I'm not picking the Rams to go back to the Super Bowl this year.
But Whitworth is coming back.
Whitworth is coming back. They did re-sign Fowler, which I was really big on.
1 year, $14 million.
Yep. So, only 1 year? Was it only a 1 year deal?
1 year, maybe two at the max. But I thought I read 1 year.
No, you're probably right. I didn't read the deal. I just heard they re-signed him.
To me, for the Rams with Fowler, it's a good 1 year signing. I've never seen a 1 year contract be a bad 1 year contract.
Yeah.
You see it in baseball, you see it in basketball, you see it in hockey. Football's no different. I think it's a more, hey, we appreciate what you did. Your big play in the NFC Championship game really helped us along. Got us to the Super Bowl. Did not go unnoticed. We want to give you another 1 year deal, prove it deal. Come back and do it again because we like the fire that you brought.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not a bad deal. I would have liked to see the Rams, and they released Alex Barron, which I actually think was a good move, and we released
Mark Barron.
I always call him. What did I call him?
Alex.
Why?
He doesn't know names.
Who is Alex Barron? I think he was a fighter pilot in World War I.
Could have been.
The Red Baron.
Maybe.
I'm thinking, wow, that's cool. Anyway.
Former life?
Mark Barron?
Mark Barron.
Okay, I want to make sure. I almost said Alex again. Mark Barron is somebody that I didn't feel like it fit the Wade Phillips scheme very well. So him being released after 2 years in the system, I think he proved, really, in my opinion, the Eagles game and the game against the Cardinals was the best he played all year long, and he really peaked in those games. I thought he played really well against Dallas, and then he just kind of disappeared. And he was vulnerability in the passing game. LaMarcus Joyner is one of those. I like him. I don't like him as a starter. and
Bye-bye.
he's gone.
Signed with Oakland.
Yeah, signed with Oakland, which I think is a good move for the Raiders.
Raiders have been making a lot of good moves, and we'll get into the Raiders shortly.
Yeah, but honestly, I don't like LaMarcus Joyner as a starter. I like him better as a slot guy or somebody that you bring in later in the game.
Maybe a change of scenery helps him.
Maybe. I mean, that's the thinking, right?
Right.
So, by and large, when we look at who they released, there's good and there's bad. I'm nervous about the Sullivan move, but it's the right one. I like the fact that we have Allen ready to take the reins on that offensive line position. I think he's going to need a year or two to really get it done. I don't like letting go of Saffold. I do like letting go of Barron. I like letting go of LaMarcus Joyner and re-signing Fowler. Now, I'm going to tell you guys right now, I'm not a fan of Eric Weddle. The dude is 34 years old. He's slow, he's old, and he's a liability on the back end of the defense. Don't believe me? Go back and watch the AFC wildcard game between the Chargers and the Ravens. When they scored a touchdown against him. And the safety help was either late or it wasn't fast enough to get back there. And I'm not going to sit here and say the Chargers have an all-world wide receiving core. I think the Saints have a much better wide receiving core than the Chargers, and we will be seeing them again. So I don't like the signing on the face of it. Now, Eric makes a great point on Eric Weddle, which I'll touch on in a minute. But let me just finish one thing on this. You even told me the statistics. 1 pick, no picks. 3 pass deflections. Guys, you got on Marcus Peters for his performance, and he looked like a freaking Pro Bowler in comparison to Eric Weddle this year. So I don't think we got better in the back end of our defense. And I don't even know, has Peters been re-signed yet? Is he gone? Have we made a decision on him?
I have not heard.
I haven't either. I hope they re-sign him because I really think he's going to have a bounce-back year.
He might be one of those second or third wave type of signings.
Yeah, probably. And I hope the Rams re-sign him. I know some of you in LA country are like, no. And that's fine. But if you're going to have that criticism about Peters, then you can't then in the same breath tell me how excited you are for Eric Weddle. Because they are literally the same player except Weddle isn't as fast and doesn't have nearly as much athletic ability. I just think it's a bad signing. And it puts a lot of pressure on John Johnson III.
Well, we talked about this right after it happened, actually. Anthony was not a big fan, and he even expressed it again right now.
Yeah.
So this was a couple of days ago. He was like, I did not like it. Mm-hmm. Well, now, take a look at this. Look at all the money that safeties are getting on the free agent market right now. Look at what Landon Collins has gotten.
Yeah.
Look at what Adrian Amos has gotten. Look at what even Antoine Bethea has gotten. Throughout the NFL. There's a bunch of money being thrown around. 2 years, $10.5 million is a steal. And I even told Anthony this. I said, listen, it's not a bad 2-year deal. Yes, he's 34. He had 6 picks back in 2017. The high that he's ever had was 7 in a season. But you think about it. The Rams basically flip-flopped Joyner and Weddle, okay? Mm-hmm. So why not just draft a safety, let him learn under Weddle for a year, and then if Weddle even still doesn't perform, you let him go.
Yeah.
A $10.5 million is not that much in today's game.
So what I told Eric was, if that is the plan, and we won't officially know that until draft day, if the Rams draft a safety, and I would say the first or second round, I think we have a second round pick. Mm-hmm. So if even if they get a lineman in the first round and a safety in the second, then I'm going to believe in this deal because I'm thinking that's what the Rams are probably thinking. And if that's the thought process, if that's the scheme that they've mapped out, then I think it's a brilliant move because you bring in a young talent, and who better to learn under than somebody as grounded, somebody as experienced, and somebody as hungry and as dedicated as Eric Weddle is. And yeah, his performance is going to slip a little bit, but that's where that coaching comes in and be like, look, I couldn't keep up with that receiver because I'm just not fast anymore. You're faster than me. You can do this. Right. You know what I mean? And it really coaches him up and grooms him. And I think if that's the plan, then I love the Eric Weddle signing. I won't lie. My entire aspect of the move changes. But if the Rams go lineman and linebacker in the first 2 rounds and they don't pick a safety up until round 4 or 5, this is unequivocally the worst move Les Snead has made since being a part of the LA Rams organization. Not the St. Louis Rams, because he made some boneheaded moves then. But certainly as an LA Ram GM, this is a terrible signing because you're older on the back end now, you're not as fast, and you don't have anybody making plays on the back end of your defense. So you're basically relying on Aqib Talib and John Johnson and Aaron Donald. And please tell me I'm begging you, please tell me how that's different from what we just went through for 16 games plus the postseason this year.
The only difference is his age.
Yeah, we're older.
Right.
And slower.
Older and slower in the secondary is not a recipe for it to succeed.
It's not a recipe to go back to the Super Bowl.
What you really need and what you're really hoping for is that Fowler ups his production, is that Aaron Donald is the Aaron Donald of the last 3 years. Mm-hmm. If you re-sign Sue, which doesn't sound like you're going to, get that edge rusher, whether it's linebacker or on the D-line or somebody, and get to the quarterback, because the more pressure they get, the better your secondary is going to look.
Yeah, I mean that would be.
And I'm not rewriting the NFL how to play book. It's just simple. It's like basic. Why do you think the Bears secondary was number one last year? Well, they had one of the best edge rushers in Mac. They had
a really good
Akeem Hicks right up the middle. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then Trevathan and Roquan Smith even rushed the passer every now and then.
And that outside, who's that other outside, that defensive end that you guys had?
Oh, Leonard Floyd.
Leonard Floyd, yeah. I mean,
and he finally came into his own.
Well, and I think that's the Mac factor, right there. So, for me, I'm not going to sit here and crap all over the deal, but I could tell you, I've seen a lot of people in the Ramily, including LT, jumping up for joy, going, "My guy got signed. My guy." I'm sorry, Landon Collins signed a 6-year, $84 million deal. You do the math. Over 6 years, he's getting paid what? $18 million? $8 million more, and you're getting a 26-year-old smash-mouth, hard-hitting, playmaking safety. As opposed to you save $8 million a year and you get an older, slower, aging safety who hasn't made plays in 2 years, and
maybe Collins just didn't fit in their budget. I mean, Collins would have fit in a lot of teams.
Again, you're $85 million under the cap,
right? But you've also already sent out deals for Cooks and Donald and Gurley.
They're signed. They're done. And I was telling this to LT. The Cooks. What I love about the Cooks and the Gurley deal is those are back end heavy. They're not front loaded. Donald is front loaded, and that's pretty much all I know of as far as them re-signing people, right?
Right.
I can't think of anybody else that they re-signed. So the only contract that you're really dealing with between now and Goff is Aaron Donald's front-loaded contract. You've got a ton of money to play with, and you've still got your best wide receiver in Cooper Kupp on his rookie deal, which is still 3 years into play. And the Rams are going to pick up the option since he lost a year with an injury.
Well, he's not eligible for an option. He was a first-round pick.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I stand corrected.
So this would be his, I believe, fourth year? Or is this his third?
This is his third.
This coming into his third. Okay.
So he's still got 2 years on it.
Yeah.
So he's up and Goff's up at the same time, basically. Okay. So Aaron Donald is front-loaded for the next 2 years, and then his contract becomes very cap-friendly. And then you've got two guys that you need to sign in Goff and Kupp. I mean, the Rams were very smart about that. So, guys, when you're out there and you're watching ESPN and the nitwits, and you're watching, the NFL nitwits, and you're watching the experts on Twitter or whatever it's called, Twitter. Sorry, I always get that mixed up. Or Face Snap or Chap Snap, whatever they call it.
Snapchat.
Oh, that's right. And they act like, oh, the Rams they're running out of money. Dude, you're an idiot. You're an absolute idiot. The Rams aren't running out of money. It's about how they – but, again, the reason they get away with it is how many people actually took time to go in and look at the contracts.
Right. There is a website you can look up all it's like Cap Friendly or something.
Yeah.
Heard about it this past week. And it's a good tool to take a look at and see, hey, what do you really have as far as cap space available? And, the Rams may have $85 million. The Bears, on the other hand, they had $13 million going into free agency, and this was even after some cuts already. So depending on who you cut, who you let go, that fluctuates. How high, how low, that all depends on what you have going on. But the Bears free agency last year led them to Khalil Mack's trade to give them the money. So that's why they haven't been as big into free agency, and I don't think the Rams have really been that big into free agency yet. This season or this offseason. I mean, Weddle and Fowler's been their biggest signings.
And we're waiting on Sue.
Right.
And I think that the other one that the Rams may look at is a lineman or a linebacker.
They should look at the lineman.
I think that. So I don't think the Rams are done with the free agency yet. But I don't see the Rams making more than maybe one more move along the way, and then say, "Hey, we finally have draft picks. We're gonna start drafting and getting young and good."
Yeah, and there's nothing to say that there isn't a good deal out there after the first wave of free agency hits. I mean, a lot of the big names are signing. One offensive lineman who got big money. Actually, there's two, but one signed in Oakland, Trent Brown, formerly of the Patriots. It's funny is the way that the Patriots are getting compensation picks up the yin-yang. They traded a third and a fifth for him to get him, and then they trade him, or they let him go, and they get a third-round compensation pick. It's like
they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing.
They do.
And as long as Belichick's running that show over there, they're going to continue to stockpile picks and pick up people like Flowers and utilize him for 3 Super Bowls and then say, adios, via con Dios, go ahead and head to Detroit. We're going to pick up another Flowers. I mean, you think about this team. Just look at their linebackers since Belichick took over, which, by the way, was his position that he coached prior to being a D coordinator in New York. This guy has had Teddy Bruschi, turned him into a superstar when he was already a talented kid, turned him into a superstar. Vrabel, right? Todd Collins made him unbelievable as a D coordinator in '96, the year they went to the Super Bowl. He's had what's this other guy, the middle linebacker they have now? Dante Hightower. They have Fowler and then they're Flowers and they let him go. I mean, it's one after the other with this team. I don't ever remember them having weak linebackers.
2 years ago, where they were getting torn up.
Well, and even this year, I do look Mayo and them. I did think that they were definitely slower. The problem is, Gurley was slower than I've ever seen him in that Super Bowl. The offensive line looked like they were playing in quicksand and couldn't get off the ball fast enough. There were so many reasons the Rams only scored 3 points in that Super Bowl that they weren't able to expose the weaknesses of the Patriots.
That's a good point you brought up. So my question to you is, Gurley has arthritis in his knee. You concerned?
I am. Only because a running back shelf life is really short in general. We funneled $85 million in this guy's pocket, and when you have arthritis in the knee, that's kind of like a pulled hamstring for life. It feels good, you're good, but it only takes one, and you're out for 3 weeks. And then you're not right the rest of the year. And then you got to rehab it in its own way, and then you're good, but you're praying like the Dickens it don't pop again at some point during the season. And maybe you go a year or two without it really flaring up, but once it flares up, you're dealing with it all year long, and that's my concern. And I know because as a running back, I didn't have arthritis in the knee. My idol let me rephrase that. When I played at Dobson High School, there was a guy named Jabari Johnson. If you're watching the show, brother, you're my man. Jabari Johnson was the starting running back. He was the only varsity player that took me under his wing as a running back, as a young kid. And what I loved about Jabari was he really showed you kind of the ins and outs, and really he coached me up as much as the coaches did. And he told me about this guy at Westwood that he was really good friends with, who was a senior, who was looking to go to Auburn his junior year, but ended up having to settle for Pacific University because he had arthritis in the knee, and they found out about it because it never goes away. That's my concern with it. So he may go a year or two with no spells, but it doesn't mean it's not there.
How soon are you looking at another running back?
I want to know what these kids in LA can do. I want to know what Justin Davis can do. I want to know if Kelly is as good as he could be, as he was in Tennessee. The thing about running back, especially coming out of college, Saquon Barkley is a once-in-a-generation player, right? Although we say that, but Todd Gurley, Le'Veon Bell, they're once-in-a-lifetime running backs as well. So you can find them every so often. I wouldn't say Saquon Barkley's once-in-a-generation. I would say Adrian Peterson is probably a once-in-a-generation back.
It's interesting you bring him up.
I'll talk about that. You talk about that in a minute. But, so for me, you're not going to get an Adrian Peterson every day. But every 3 years, you might be able to find a Gurley or a Le'Veon or a Latavius Murray, a really serviceable quality running back.
Well, just with Adrian Peterson alone, he broke his collarbone in college. Okay, he was back at the end of the year. Crazy. He tore his ACL in the pros.
Came back and rushed for
9
2,000
months. 9 months he was out.
Yeah.
Freak of nature.
He is a freak of nature. I love the guy. So, for me, I'm worried only because of the longevity that could follow. But again, he could be fine all year next year and it's not an issue, but then the next year it could flare up. So it's just a matter of when that happens. So I know a lot of people said we should re-sign C.J. Anderson. I don't think so. I don't know if they have re-signed him or not, but if they haven't, they need to let him go. Because you've got Kelly and Davis, and Malcolm is coming back next year. So, and I like Malcolm. But let's see what these two kids can do. Because if they can't produce, well, then you dip into the draft pool again. Because you'll find a running back. They're out there. So.
Any round. I mean, unless you get that generational talent, like we mentioned. It was hard for the Giants to pass on Saquon. Yeah. So they took him.
Well, but look at the Browns. Look who the Browns picked up.
Oh, yeah, they picked up Nick Chubb in round 3.
Yeah. I mean, that's a perfect example.
Yeah.
So, I just think it's something to think about. So, anyway, that's the Rams. What is your feeling, Eric, on the Weddle signing?
I like the Weddle signing, especially now after you've seen how much money has been thrown around on safeties already. The safety market was just littered with what seemed like half the league of safeties. Okay, and I know you have free safeties, you have strong safeties, blah blah blah, whatever. Okay.
Where did the kid for Seattle sign? Is he signed yet?
Earl Thomas is not signed yet.
Interesting.
I mean, he's looking for like $30 million, but and again, you've already got a deal with Weddle. Why not jump on the deal? Weddle wanted to be a Ram, so when you get a guy who
that was kind of cool.
When you get a guy who wants to be on your team, okay, and he's like
he grew up a Ram fan.
Well, he also played in he's played in California before with the Chargers, and I forget where he went to school. I don't think he went to USC.
Oh, was it UCLA?
I'm not sure if he went to a California school or not. I'd have to look it up. But anyways, when you have a guy like that who says, "Yeah, I want to come play," and you know he's on the twilight of his career, he's 34 years old, and I know you weren't a fan of him saying that in his press conference.
No,
but listen, that's a deal. That's a steal. That's $10.5 million. You're like, okay, sure. Landon Collins, $85 million. What? Adrian Amos, $37 million. What? Yeah. Trust me, you saved a bunch of money. And I don't mean by switching to Geico.
15%.
15.
The only thing, again, you save money if he produces. Otherwise, as my father once said, you get exactly what you paid for.
Well, that's true.
So if he ends up taking a big, fat, wet diarrhea dump in the morning, right, and doesn't produce all year long, well, yeah, then he's going to play like a $10.5 million safety.
Well, if he does more than just 3 pass deflections for the Rams in his first year,
it's not good enough. I know it's an improvement.
I know you say it's not good enough, but I don't see him getting 6 or 7 interceptions. Sure, he could be at the right place at the right time.
Fine, get 3 interceptions and 4 forced fumbles. I don't care. Get 7 turnovers somewhere. As a safety, it's a heck of a lot easier than it is as a corner.
Well, and that's where the pass rush comes in, too.
And that's the thinking. And I know the Ramleys out there. I know, LT, you're going to watch this, and I know you're going to comment. You'll be like, that's exactly what I'm saying. LT's going to jump right in here. I know he is. And he's not wrong in the sense that if Donald gets that pressure up the middle, if Fowler produces, it's going to make Weddle far more capable of those opportunistic moments.
What you don't want to see is a slow start on the Rams on defense like you have the past season in the first couple of games, because then that could really expose the secondary.
Well, I don't think their slow start was in the beginning of the season. I think they hit that slow start after really week 3, 4, 5. Was their...
Okay, yeah.
It's still early in the year, though.
You did play Oakland. You did play Arizona. But, okay, more
3 through 5.
Right,
well, even 3 through 6. You're right.
Okay, yeah.
So at the beginning of the year, it's still the beginning.
It's one of the questions of the defense, like, where's the defense?
Yeah.
If you see that somewhat early on, look at how the secondary is playing. If they're covering and they're knocking balls away and tackling on the spot, that's great. Yeah. But you just don't want to see Weddle get burned and him chasing from behind and all that.
Yeah. Well, he won't be chasing no one from behind. True. He'll be waving to him as they score a touchdown. All righty. Yeah, right. So who do you want to talk about next? There's a couple big signings.
Let's go with the Bears first before we go with the signings and trades. Just get the Bears out of the way. They did a lot last season. We all know that. They got the Khalil Mack. They're locking up some guys. They locked up 2 of their offensive linemen. They restructured Kyle Long's contract to free up some money. They did let Adrian Amos and Bryce Callahan test the market. So what the Bears did, they went out and they signed 30-year-old former Jets corner, nickel corner, Buster Skrine. I wasn't too happy with that signing. A lot of concussion injury history, but maybe change of scenery, maybe a different defense that actually gets to the quarterback.
Here's one.
Helps Buster Skrine.
Right. Maybe a better coaching can teach him to get his head out of there.
Right, and Chuck Pagano might be just the guy.
Yeah.
They also went out and signed one of the 3 Seahawks running backs, Mike Davis. The Seahawks led the league in rushing last year. They went out and signed him. I don't necessarily think that that's a precursor that Jordan Howard is gone. Jordan Howard's pretty much gone.
You know, that wouldn't be a bad move for the Rams.
I mean, if you want to give us your first-round pick, that's fine.
I could give you a first-round pick for Howard, but we can give you a third and a fifth.
Then you don't have to worry about an arthritic knee.
I'd throw a third and a fifth your way and see what you did.
Fine, we'll take a second.
You get a second next year, then you ain't getting a second this year.
We want the second this year. We don't have a second this year.
Tough titty, said the kitty with the big brown.
Well, then you don't get Jordan.
And whatever, fine. We'll go with Malcolm Brown and company.
So they signed Mike Davis. Adrian Amos signed with the Packers. So thanks, Trader, appreciate it. You got $37 million. So I mean, if he went where the money was, you really can't fault the guy. Yeah, safety's getting money. Tyrann Mathieu, huge money in Kansas City. We've already touched on Landon Collins.
I don't think he's worth it. I mean, Landon Collins.
He had a good year last year. He actually had a $9.5 million deal on the table with the Texans, and he decided to hold on to it and test free agency. What's funny is Tyrann Mathieu tweeted, money is cool, but I want a ring. Dude, you ain't getting it in KC.
Oh, come on now. He has a better chance of winning in KC than Houston. Well, I shouldn't say that because I do like Houston's quarterback. I don't know. That's kind of like leaving the penthouse to go to the penthouse.
Well, we'll see. Kansas City's defense could be very much improved.
Or it could be a lot worse.
Well, I don't think it could get worse under Bob Sutton.
They let Houston go?
Well, they cut Houston instead of paying him $15 million. They traded D Ford to the 49ers. But they also fired Bob Sutton right after the AFC Championship game. They hired Steve Spagnuolo, which I thought was a decent hire for them. It can't get much worse unless, because they're switching to a 4-3 defense, and those guys don't play in a 4-3. Houston and 4. That's why they were cut and traded. So now there's 2 big producers there. Who's going to rush quarterback?
Dude, this is what I'm talking about. This is why I get so mad at the coaching in the NFL.
And D Ford was franchised.
First of all, okay, let me clear something up for you. I'm a 4-3 guy, right?
2.
But
Jersey says otherwise.
Yeah, I know, right? But I also know how to make my 4-3 defense work in a 3-4 defense. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. Obviously, the a-holes in the NFL that are coaching have never heard of this defense. So get a little closer to the screen. Spagnuolo, come here. Okay? I want all of the NFL D coordinators to come up here. I'm going to give you 2 numbers that indicate a defense that works really well. And I know it's never been used in NFL history. But if you're a 4-3 guy and you have 3-4 talent, then you run a defense that no one's ever run before. It's called a 46.
Never heard of it.
Never. You're a Bear fan. Why would you?
Never.
I mean, how hard is that? You run the Bear front. You can still drop back in coverage just because they're lined up there. I know this is another foreign concept. Doesn't mean you have to rush it. You can do what the Patriots did. We're coming. We're coming. We're coming. Just kidding. We're coming. We're coming. We're coming. Just kidding. We're coming. We're coming. Gotcha. Interception, right? You can time it and do what you need to do. The Bear 46 is what you run if you're a 4-3 guy and you have 3-4 talent. A lot of people don't realize that, but the Bears, when they came in, they wanted to run the 4-3 defense, but when you have Wilbur Marshall, and you have Otis Wilson, and you have Mike Singletary, and you have Richard Dent, and you have, who's the other guy you had?
Fridge.
No, the other
Dan
linebacker.
Hampton.
The other linebacker.
Oh, you mentioned all 3 linebackers.
Right. So they basically used Richard Dent.
Hampton, McMichael.
Right.
Well, Dent was the edge rusher.
And so was Wilbur Marshall on the other side for all intents and purposes. So It's not complicated. But again, recycled dog poop, right? That's what Spagnuolo is. He's a good D coordinator, but, I'm sorry, but if I'm an owner and I'm interviewing you to be my D coordinator, or if I'm a head coach, even better, because that's probably who's hiring these people. If I'm hiring you as a D coordinator and you come in and I go, we got Ford, we got Houston, we just signed Honey Badger. What can you do? Well, I run a 3-4, and I can't exactly utilize Ford or Houston. Can we trade them? I'm going to look at you right in the face and go, put the marijuana down, go get drug tested, come back, and re-answer this question because you're an idiot. Those are talented players. If you can't win with them, dingleberry chewing gum, you ain't going to win with no one. You have no hope of being a good coach. Because what happens if you draft a guy who's a once-in-a-generation edge rusher as a linebacker? Could you imagine LT, right? Thank you. High five. Could you imagine LT being drafted by Spagnuolo? Why'd you draft him? I can't use him. He's a rusher. I need linebackers. What the? Come here. You just beat him right in the face right there and fire him. Like, you're too stupid to breathe oxygen at that point. It just annoys me, right? Because Kansas City didn't need to give up on those talents.
I don't think they wanted to pay $15 million to Justin Houston.
Well, if you don't want to pay him $15 million, there are more than one ways to skin a cat, right?
Apparently.
Did they trade him?
Never tried.
No, that's a weird expression.
I've heard that they try to trade Justin Houston.
Okay, so franchise him.
I don't know how hard. You already franchised D Ford.
And then they got rid of him?
They traded him.
Okay, fire that guy.
Spagnuolo, see ya.
I know we just hired you Tuesday. You're fired on Wednesday. Like, that's dumb. You don't have to pay Houston $15 million on the front. Here's what you tell Houston. We're going to pay you $10 million. But if you play well, we're going to actually pay you $20 million.
Here's your incentives.
Right.
And I'm sorry, that's what all contracts need to go to. In my opinion. Yeah, I think there should be some guaranteed money, but if you don't produce, why should you get paid?
Dude, you want 15 and you guarantee him 10, but you offer him another 10 unguaranteed based on performance?
Yeah.
You can't tell me he's not going to jump all over that.
There's some guys who get the money, and one quarterback gets $84 million guaranteed and goes out and drops a deuce.
Yeah, and then another one gets $88 million. I can't believe that. 88 mil.
Trades?
Let's continue with free agency first, then we'll hit trades. So, $88 million, Jacksonville, right? So, for me, I'm going to just touch on two things.
They bet against themselves.
Yeah, that's equivalent to having 20 in blackjack, and then you look at the dealer because you see the 10 and you go, hit me. And the dealer's like, what? Oh, hit me. That's what the Jaguars did. They had 20, right? Hit me. Now, I'm not saying, really quick, I want to explain this. I'm not saying that Bortles is, close to a blackjack, okay? He's more like he's close to a jack wagon than a blackjack, right? I agree with that. But he's dirt cheap, and you've got a high first-round pick.
And your defense got just roasted. You've also let go of a bunch of guys. One of them, Tayshaun Gibson at safety. Another safety, look at that.
Yeah.
You've also traded Malik Jackson to Philly. Philly then trades Michael Bennett to New England, so the rich just get richer.
Yeah.
But the Foles deal came 2 years too late. Foles would have beat the Patriots in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah.
Okay, with that defense. He would have beat the Patriots.
They would have annihilated.
Jacksonville would have won the Super Bowl that year.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Oh, yeah. And Philly wouldn't have even been there.
No, Philly wouldn't have been there. Right.
Yeah, because Wentz went down.
Right. And I don't know if Sudfeld was the third-string quarterback.
Could you imagine Case Keenum against, well, that was your championship game, so you would have seen exactly what that would have looked like.
Right. And Case Keenum, has been traded too.
Yeah, from 10.
But $88 million. And they haven't cut Bortles yet, but that's coming. But they gave him an extension last year.
So let me ask you.
What are you doing, Jacksonville? So go to London already.
Let me ask you a question. Go to London already. Let me ask you a question. I'm going to throw a team out there for Blake Bortles if they release him.
I've heard one team, but go ahead.
We meaning me and LT were talking about this. Mannion is poop on a shingle.
Mm.
You pick up Bortles.
I've heard
being taught under Sean McVay might improve his play.
I've heard Carolina.
Is Cam Newton on his way out the door?
I don't think so.
Well, I guess you could use him as backup.
But hey,
where would you rather go though if you're Bortles? Would you rather go to McVay and learn under that, or go to Carolina and learn under Norv Turner?
I'd rather go whoever's going to offer me a possible close to a starting job.
Okay, well the AAF is still open for business.
They are. So is the XFL.
Yeah, well, they will be open for business.
But I will tell you this: I can't let this go untouched either. And I know this is NFL free agency, and this guy's going to get a contract. Garrett Gilbert.
Oh yeah.
Playing amazing football in the AAF. And he was the third-string quarterback in Carolina last year. In Week 17, he beat the Saints. We've talked about this before. He is playing great right now in the Alliance.
I'm going to talk about something else
and,
on this.
And I want to know, as soon as their season's over, who is going to offer him a number 2 job? Because that could be a gateway for him to eventually become a full-time starter in the NFL. Now, I know that the league is minor leagues, as you could say, but he's playing great.
Dude, I'm telling you, I want to stick with the same concept and the same team.
You can't. I mean,
look, I'm going to say this really quick.
If you really want to get rid of Mannion, I would endorse that. I would endorse that signing.
It's so funny,
all over.
Dude, it's so funny that you said that, because that's the name I brought up to LT.
Yeah,
I brought up Blake Bortles because he said that they were going to release him. But when me and LT were talking, he's like, "Would you go get the kid from Birmingham? Lopez or whatever his name is?" And I'm like,
Garrett Gilbert.
That's what I brought up. He said the kid from Orlando.
Somebody has to get. He will have multiple offers.
He might even get starting.
I don't think he's going to get starting because there's nobody out there who needs.
Where's Case Keenum starting at?
Well, I mean, Washington they're off by themselves.
I can't believe that.
So
there's another team, right? Well, you get Landon Collins. Congratulations, the best safety on the market, in my opinion.
Landon Collins wears number 21.
Right. Well, he won't in Washington. We talked about that. And he won't wear 28 either. Don't worry, Redskin fans. But you get the best.
So where do you go? Right in the middle, 24?
Why not?
Somebody I want to say
was Norman 24?
Yeah. 25.
There you go.
There, done.
Give
24 and a half.
Give him 31. We're fine. Look, you signed Landon Collins. Great signing. Keenum?
They traded for Keenum. They gave up a 6th or 7th round pick in 2020. But what you're telling everybody then, I think you really have to then go for a quarterback in the draft.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're telling me that obviously Mark Sanchez ain't going to be on the team.
No.
That was a laugh by you.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Well, look, Alex Smith is done.
Colt McCoy also broke his leg.
Yeah.
And he should be okay for training camp. But you're saying that he's not the guy.
No.
Alex Smith might not
I don't
be the
believe
guy.
that. Well, Alex Smith is done. That's a career-ending injury. I'm telling you right now. He spent 6 months in the hospital rehabbing because surgery didn't go well. I don't think Alex Smith is coming back. And I think the Redskins got that notification ahead of when we're going to get it. Now, I don't think bringing in Case Keenum means he's the starter. I think you sit there and go, okay, Colt, we believe that you need to be pushed, and we're going to give you one more chance to prove you're a starter in this league.
I think Case gets the starting job there.
I don't know if he beats out Colt McCoy. If it's a true competition, I don't think Case beats Colt McCoy. If it's not a true competition, in other words, they're like, this is our guy, we traded for him, we're going to give him a 1-year rental to see what happens or however long he's there for, then you're right. But I want to get to something else. You brought up Orlando. I really believe in 1996 that this individual came into the league too early. That his style wasn't conducive for the National Football League at that time. Or 98, whenever he came in, 98, 99, somewhere. No, it was before that. It was like 92 or 93.
I have no idea who you're talking about.
I think that this man is primed for the game and is tailor-made for the way the National Football League is played today. And my question is, which franchise is going to be smart enough to hire Steve Spurrier as their head coach? And I'm dead serious when I say that. This isn't an example of recycled dog poop. This is an example of a man that came in with a plan in the early 90s at a time when the league's like, no, the quarterbacks can get massacred. We can actually hit people, and your offense is gimmicky, and you don't stand a chance. Now, you can't touch the receivers. You can't touch the quarterback. You can't touch, apparently, running backs on screen passes or wide receivers, as we saw in the Super Bowl, right? Mm-hmm. So, name me an offensive system more deadly for the National Football League in the way it's played right now than Steve Spurrier's. I think he would make Sean McVay look like a Pop Warner coach. And I like Sean McVay a lot.
Well, I'll give you one team.
Cardinals?
No. Although that is hilarious. Washington.
Oh, could you imagine a return? I mean, Gruden's on his last legs.
He's got to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a fun pick, man. That's interesting as heck.
The only other team that I could really
Green
think
Bay?
of. No. The only other team that I could really think of, especially if they don't make the playoffs this year, Carolina.
So, as far as I'm concerned, I think Spurrier might be an option for somebody. And I know we threw a couple of teams out there already, but I don't think his game translated well when he first came in the league. But I think, like I've been saying this whole time, I think it's tailor-made for the NFL today.
We'll see if somebody gives him a chance. I mean, we've seen how the NFL does treat older coaches.
Yeah, but they definitely give second and third and 14th chances. But Spurrier's not a part of that community.
No, he's not. He's not. I mean, it'd be interesting to see if somebody does. We'll just have to wait and find out.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch. All right, so there's really 4 teams that we're going to touch on. 2 of them we're going to touch on together because I don't necessarily think our perspective is different, just a different way of looking at it. And then 1 team each that we really want to kind of focus on. So the teams that we're going to touch on together are the Jets and the Browns. And then you want to talk about the Raiders. And I'm going to talk about the Bills. So just for me right now, I'll just touch on Buffalo. We'll go AFC East, then we'll jump to the Central, then we'll end with the West. For me, the Bills are really, they impress the heck out of me. You've got this quarterback in Josh Allen, and you've got a really good connection that he has with with one wide receiver, the other, not the rookie, but the 2-year guy from East Carolina. What's his name? The guy who won the Rams to get. Man, I'm spacing the name. Anyway, the receiver that he had a really good connection with that only played when he played. Yeah, look him up.
Yeah, I'm going to.
Meanwhile, they turned around and they got Cole Beasley and Devin Funchess on a 1-year. Not Funchess.
John Brown.
Thank you. That's the one. John Brown, who I'm really stoked about because that guy can stretch the field. So you've got one wide receiver that's really good at that intermediate 3rd down route, and then you've got 2 receivers that can stretch the field, and you've got a tight end that's relatively reliable. So you add that to the fact that they then added Frank Gore, right?
1 year, $2 million.
And they've already got, LaShawn McCoy. So, they're loaded at running back.
Zay Jones.
There you go. That's the one, Zay Jones. So you've got Zay Jones and Brown that can stretch the field. You've got Cole Beasley on the underneath stuff that can get open when he's scrambling around like a lunatic. And you've got a tight end that is, only going to get better, I would think, with Allen at quarterback. You've got 2 solid running backs. Your offensive line is together again.
They let Clay go.
They did let Clay go. Well, what about the other kid, the white kid? I know that sounds real racist, right? You know who I'm talking about, though. The other tight end.
I don't know how much of a pass catching tight end he is.
Well, he's good in the run game, but I mean,
and that's why Allen did so well running the ball,
right? But he is serviceable, I think, in the receiving game, and that's actually the guy that I'm thinking about because again, towards the end of the year, they were doing some of that 2 tight end stuff because I believe one of the receivers was hurt. They had to go to that game. And it really exploded the offense. So I don't think that's out of the question for them moving forward. And I say explode the offense because by comparison, what they were doing as opposed to what they did at the end of the year. Right. So I really like what Buffalo's done. Now, they didn't do much to address the defense side of the ball. But you're just talking about winning 4 or 5 more games to get to the playoffs. Not even. What was the record? 6-10? Roughly. Yeah, so 4 more games. Not even. 3 or 4 more games and you're in the postseason.
Yeah, they were They were a game or two behind the Dolphins, and they finished 7-9.
Yeah. So I like what Buffalo did. I think they obviously like what they saw from Allen, and they're trying to build a team around him, and I think it's absolutely the right move.
They also went out and signed offensive tackle, and forgive me, I forget his name, Ty something.
Ty Jones, right?
No, not Ty Jones. I think it started with like an O, and I think Olski or something, Ty Olski or something like that. I saw it. I read very briefly, skimmed over it, but they did sign an offensive tackle to help out a lot more to solidify their offensive line. Sorry if I'm boring you. I'm kidding.
You got that, huh? It's not you boring me. It's a very boring pick, but it's the right pick, right?
Well, offensive linemen are not. When you sign an offensive lineman, when you draft an offensive lineman, everybody in the draft boos. They're like, "Oh, boo," because they got somebody to boo about.
Unless their name's Orlando Pace.
Well, Pace is one guy. Joe Thomas is another. There's very few where people are like, "Oh yeah, great, we got the offensive lineman." They're not sexy picks.
No,
but they will win you in the trenches.
Mm-hmm. And that's where you win football. So let's go to the Jets, because I know we both want to touch on this.
Yeah.
So the Jets are not out of the Le'Veon Bell sweepstakes.
They're not.
And that's mainly, I think, because Barr said, yeah, I'll play for you, and then said, deuces, I'm out.
Well, Barr verbally agreed to the Jets, then backed out, went back to Minnesota. Meanwhile, the Jets at the same time were signing C.J. Mosley to a 5-year, $85 million contract.
They knew something. They knew something was up.
Had to have. They also went out and gave money, I don't know why, to Jamison Crowder. Dude can't stay on the field. So he's there. I hear they're not out of the Le'Veon Bell sweepstakes, depending on how much he's getting. I've heard a few different teams mentioned with Bell, but I think
the Colts let go of Gore.
Well, Gore was
Dolphins. I'm an idiot. Never mind.
I mean, the Colts have a semi-committee running back. I mean, Marlon Mack is their first and second down back, and then Nyheim Hines is their third down back, who's a really good catcher out of the backfield as well. But if you want to solidify the position, why not just go for somebody who can be down there, downs 1 through 3? I thought the same thing for the Bears. Like, what you can sell Le'Veon Bell is not only just the money, but say, hey, look at our offensive line. The Colts would say, hey, look, we got Quentin Nelson. We were a great offensive line. Look how many games in a row that Andrew Luck didn't get sacked. Will that continue? I don't know. But your presence can really help it, okay? You're not going to get 400 touches in a season because Luck's going to want to throw it to his tight end, Jack.
Who are you talking about?
The Colts.
Ebron.
They also have Jack Doyle still.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was thinking about. Ebron and Doyle. You also have T.Y. Hilton. Okay. Chester Rogers. All right. So you can sell them on not wearing them down into the ground. The Bears can do the same thing. Mm-hmm. And I forgot to point out to the Bears as well, they signed Cordero Patterson to a 2-year deal. I like the signing only because it helps solidify their special teams on kick returns and punt returns.
If they even do those anymore.
Exactly. But, I mean, the Bears' offensive line, they can also say, hey, look at us. We also were able to run the ball, even though we didn't have the greatest yards per carry from Jordan Howard, but we have the offensive line to get you into those holes. We're also not going to give you 400 touches in a season because Tariq Cohen's going to want to get a piece of the pie, and Trubisky needs to throw because he's a third-year quarterback, and he's getting the Jared Goff treatment, and he's in the – okay, take the Bears to the Super Bowl. That's another story.
Getting the Jared Goff treatment? I don't know.
I don't know if
I think he's getting a little more love than Jared Goff got. I didn't hear no one call him a bust.
He's on the Jared Goff path. Just hopefully he scores more than 3 points in a Super Bowl.
See, there we go with that again. But
buddy. You can see, like, that's what Le'Veon Bell didn't want in Pittsburgh. He didn't want to be the workhorse, didn't want to be the 400 touch, and only make $14.5 million for 1 year. He wanted that security. The Bears could have offered that security. I don't know what the signing of Mike Davis and Buster Skrine do to that. I don't think that really leaves them with much money. The Jets are able to do it. The Colts can do it if they really want.
That is such an odd decision by
the Colts. I don't know what they're doing, but they did sign Devin Funchess to a 1-year, $13 million deal.
That was the Colts?
That was the Colts.
Okay, we weren't even supposed to touch on it.
We weren't, but we're going with Le'Veon Bell, so they have weapons. I don't know if you consider, Funchess a weapon, but I mean he's there, and they have to use him somehow, probably more than they can. He'll watch him go off. Just watch. Just watch.
Yeah.
Watch him go off. But as we're getting to the Jets, like they are one of the teams that can offer him a contract to his liking. And he already tweeted out the other day, and this is where I see a lot of good information. He don't like it for some reason. I don't know why. But I swear I see some great information on Twitter, and I'll actually screenshot and send it to him, and he'll be like, oh, ha, LOL. And, but, the Jets are one of those teams. So with the Jets making these moves, and Darnold being in the second year of his being a second-year quarterback, they have enough to dethrone New England?
I don't think anybody in that division is going to win 8 games except New England.
Well, you heard it here first.
So New England wins the division again, but they'll be 8-8.
Yeah,
and they'll probably still be 5 games better than the second-place team.
But they also have a new coach in Adam Gase. They also have Dowell Loggins.
Really, new coach in Adam Gase?
Well, it technically is. Somebody else.
I'm sorry. Okay, so the Jets will go 7-9, and Dolphins will still win the division. Bills will be 7-9.
Dolphins are going to win the division.
Yeah, right. When I say the Dolphins,
yeah,
I said the Patriots. The Dolphins ain't going to win crap on a shingle. Look, I like, of all the teams in the AFC East, the offseason, I like what Buffalo's done. The Jets are still players. They still have a lot. I won't be surprised if they go after Peters, if the Rams let him go.
I'll be interested more so in what the Jets and Bills do in the draft.
Yeah. Because they both have the quarterback now.
They do. So it's just a matter, do they solidify offensive line? Do they say, heck, we did all this on offense, let's go defense, but the Jets went defense in free agency. So it'll be interesting to see what holes they fill.
Mosley is a good signing for them.
Mosley should have been a Chicago Bear.
He should have been a
instead
Ram.
of Kyle Fuller, except for last year, because Fuller was money.
Mosley should have been a Ram this year. Again,
Mosley should never have left Baltimore. Baltimore should have done what they can to sign him. They didn't franchise tag him because $15 million scared him. Well, you were saving money anyways because
you Flacco go.
You were trading Flacco, and you let go of your running back who got arrested. I forget his name off the top.
Good, let's keep it that way.
And they also didn't bring back Terrell Suggs. He's coming back to
home.
the desert.
Yeah, he's coming back home. He was born and raised in Arizona. So.
Yeah.
Sundance. Yeah. Well, no, he also went to Hamilton High School.
Yeah.
So, or Chandler, something like that. But anyway, no, I think it was Hamilton. But I digress.
So maybe there's more noise in the AFC East this year with the Jets and Buffalo maybe being a little bit more competitive.
I think that they're still a year or two away, and I think New England is a year or two away from falling off the wagon. Again,
how many years have you heard that from him before?
Since
we've been doing the show.
Okay, well let's talk about this for just a minute. Since you went off on a tangent, I'm going to go off on a tangent. You talked about the Colts. Let's talk about New England. The Rams showed everyone I was right. The way you beat the Patriots offense is you put press coverage on those wide receivers, you put pressure up the middle, and you get some kind of an edge pressure. Not a lot, but enough to annoy the quarterback, and you can limit New England's offense to close to nothing. Now, under any other circumstances, you score 13 points in a Super Bowl, you're getting blown out. The problem is the Rams' offense forgot to show up. But you can't put that on the defense. The blueprint's there to beat New England. And it's what I've been saying all year long.
Do teams have that defensive ability to do that? And it's only been shown that only a couple teams
Okay,
can.
Then why don't you draft accordingly? See, that's what irritates me about this generation of football.
Because you're not as a Jet, a Bill, or a Dolphin, you're not drafting of what New England's going to do.
Yes, you are. When the Pittsburgh Steelers were winning Super Bowls in the 70s, no one in Cleveland, Cincinnati, or Houston built their team to beat the Dallas friggin' Cowboys. They looked at the top of the division, they said, how do we beat the Steelers? We need corners, we need physical linebackers, and we need a powerful running game to get that offense off the field. Who challenged them? Houston. Who unseated them? Cincinnati and Cleveland. And then when the Browns were the top dogs, pun intended, what did they do? They said, well, they've got a really accurate quarterback. Their running game has gone weak. They're now mostly a passing team, and their defense plays a lot of zone. So what did the Oilers do? The Oilers said, okay, we're going to get a run-and-shoot offense. It's going to spread them out so their linebackers are no longer a factor. And their corners, they only have 2 good corners. We're going to attack the middle of the field where the safeties are, and we're going to spread them thin. And we're on defense, we're going to load up in the secondary. Chris Dishman, Blaine Bishop, and the list goes on, right? And the Oilers unseated the Browns. That's what every organization in every professional sport has ever done until the NFL in 2000, when they looked at it and went, well, the Patriots have Tom Brady, bro. As if Tom Brady's unbeatable. It annoys the living bejesus out of me. So, yes, when you have the best in the world in your division, you play them twice a year. You build a blueprint against their weaknesses. Now, this kid that outperformed Aaron Donald's 40 time, right, in the spandex Olympics that we just had in Indianapolis, right?
Your favorite?
The most worthless evaluation process in professional business, okay? Like, there are better evaluation processes in sales than there is in the NFL. I'll tell you what I told Eric. And he said, are you really going to say this on the show? I am. It's a bunch of grown adult men getting their rocks off over younger men in spandex, shorts, and a t-shirt. Not one of those athletes are going to have that outfit on Sunday come September 11th. They're just not. So you tell me. You look at film and go, wow, this guy really performed at a high level in every single game. But you know what? His hand size. I just don't think he can cut it in the NFL. You know, this guy's 40 time wasn't as fast as I thought it was. Forget the fact that, he played in the SEC and he outran the entire Alabama defense. I just don't think he has the speed in the NFL. You're on crack cocaine.
Game tape is the best tape to watch.
It's the only tape to watch. All you should use the combine for are bubble guys and to get to know the guy you want to draft.
I don't care about a guy's 40 time.
Nope.
Okay.
I don't care how much he can bench.
Because in the NFL, when you're on a 100-yard field, okay, you're not running 40 yards at a time.
Nope.
Okay? You're either getting a lot of separation between you and the defense, or you're getting caught by the defense. I don't care how high you can jump, because nobody is jumping up with trying to catch a ball with their fingertips.
Nope.
Okay?
Well, maybe now with the gloves.
Well,
just
you might as well get tentacles.
Okay, I thought you said something else. My mind went through. Okay, never mind.
That.
Yeah, there. Hey, go ahead.
And I don't care how much a guy can bench press, because he's going to do that in the gym anyways.
Yeah, you can always improve the bench. To quote the Hodge twins, you can get all kinds of gains in your 20s benching that weight, right? And look at it this way: if you're Kareem Hunt, you can definitely get a good leg workout kicking. I'm sorry, is that too soon? I shouldn't have gone there. I'm just kidding. Okay, I did. Cut it out. Wow, did you just go too legit? Okay, that's a totally different thing. Anyway, I know. I just went to the 90s right there. All right. Go ahead, Fresh Prince of Chicago. What do you got?
The interview process.
Yeah, that's it.
To be honest, like, after the interviews were done in Indianapolis, all you've heard about was how bad Kyler Murray bombed. Okay?
I'm going to say something on that.
That was from one person, though. And I don't know how in tune they were, because he also said that Des Bryant was selling the Cowboys last year, which was funny to me, considering he wasn't.
Look, everyone rode Charlie Casserly, and I'm going to defend him here for a minute. You can only, and I know I know you guys in the media, you're not used to reporting real news, especially if you work at certain networks. We won't mention what they are. You're just kind of used to running with your emotion, right? I like this person, so I'm going to say they did wonderful in everything. Okay, it's not Charlie Casserly's fault that somebody came up to him and said, he really sucked in our interview. Now, if it's one person, if it's 3 people, if it's 25 people, I don't care. It's still one professional's analysis of the interview process. Maybe it was Kyler Murray towards the end of the day and he was just tired of the interviews and he wasn't in it and he wasn't feeling it and he bombed it. That doesn't mean he didn't do that doesn't mean he didn't do poorly in that interview. And I'm not going to fault Casserly for reporting what he was told through his sources.
And apparently he only interviewed 10 teams, of course the Cardinals being one, so we don't know if he bombed the Cardinal interview or not.
We don't.
We may never find out. But if...
But, I mean, my question is, Eric, is this where we've gotten where now there are certain types of athletes that the NFL nitwits are going to protect, and if you actually give a proper evaluation or an opinion on the guy based on information that you've collected that doesn't mesh with those idiots, that now you're ostracized and treated like a piece of garbage?
Absolutely. Yep. Unfortunately.
I'll tell you right now, it's moments like this that make me wish I had 10 pills in my hand. And all 10 were made of cyanide. It really is. Because if this is the world we live in, what the hell are we doing? I'm going to tell you guys something right now. Kyle Murray is not Jesus Christ reincarnated. Okay? I'm not saying he's going to be a bust. I told you guys I will never say that. Not even with Jackson. What did I tell you about Jackson? His game will not translate unless he changes up. And when he is in the pocket, he fumbles.
That's a nice way of calling him a bust.
No, it's not, because you can coach that out of him, right?
Yeah.
Randall Cunningham is exhibit A of that. Randall Cunningham was a running quarterback, and finally somebody grabbed him and said, bro, you got to knock this off. And in 98, there was no one better in the NFL than Randall Cunningham, right? So you can coach it out of the kid. But if he continues down this path, yeah, it's not going to look good for him.
On a lighter side of that, look what happened to Trubisky. He ran against Minnesota, got hit by Sendejo, knocked out for 2 games. Okay,
there you go.
He stopped running.
Yeah,
I'm not saying he was better, but he learned, and he only took off when he needed to. He didn't take off at every single time.
Look at Patrick Mahomes. How often did Mahomes run?
Mahomes stopped running a lot toward the end of the year, in the second half of the season.
And even when Mahomes did run in the beginning of the year, he ran to prolong. He did Steve Young. He ran like Steve Young ran.
He ran, but it was all behind the line of scrimmage to open up the pass.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that. And that's where these mobile quarterbacks like Kyle Murray could be an impact player.
That's different than Michael Vick running for 1,000 yards.
Yes.
In a season.
Unequivocally. Unequivocally. And that's my issue. So I don't know why everyone all of a sudden thinks Kyle Murray is the greatest quarterback to come out of an NFL, come out of the draft. Who? Connor? Kyler. I said Kyle, didn't I? I don't even know the guy's name. That's how much Oklahoma football I watched. This was me watching Oklahoma football. You know why? Because I get tired of 65, 64 football games. They get boring. Oh, they got the ball? Oh, it's another 50-yard touchdown. That's great. That's fantastic. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm old school, right? I prefer not that the Super Bowl, 13-3. I know a lot of people think that Super Bowl was boring, and that's because people can't appreciate good football. That was anything but a boring 13-3 game.
It just showed that defense still plays.
Right. There were moments, I will not disagree, second quarter in particular, where I'm like, please kill me. This is the most boring thing I've ever seen. But the first quarter, the third quarter, and the fourth quarter of that game were outstanding from a defensive fan's standpoint. Yeah, it wasn't 54-51, but I don't want 54-51 every single week. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm uniquely different. So I didn't watch a lot of Oklahoma games because I thought they were boring. Give me balance in my football, right? It's like a good diet. So Kyler Murray
Thank you.
Is going to be a good quarterback? Maybe. Is he going to be a bust? Maybe. Do we know for sure? No. Just like Trubisky or Jared Goff or Allen
or any of these
or Darnold. Yeah. Right. The one I think that's getting
Watson, Mahomes. I mean, Mahomes could completely fall off a cliff.
Right.
But
it doesn't look like
I don't see it happening.
No, neither do I. And that, he's about to hit his third year. So if he has, and here's the other thing I'm going to tell you guys right now. Mahomes does not need to repeat last year's performance.
No.
Okay?
No.
If he throws for 1,200 yards less and half the touchdowns, but the same amount of interceptions, which was very little.
But the defense steps up.
Even if forget that, just looking at his performance, he's unequivocally a hit.
Okay, here's where Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City offense was. Here's where the defense was.
Yeah.
If they do this, okay, that's fine. I expect the Bears to do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I expect the Bears offense to take a big leap forward. I expect their defense, which was up here, to maybe come down a little bit, okay? But if their offense can make up for it, I'm okay with that. Like, they don't have to be the best defense. Just make it more of a consistent offense. Throw up a 30-burger every now and then, okay? Hopefully both times on Green Bay.
Yeah.
And just leave it at that. Like, I'm okay with that. Like, I don't need them scoring 40 points a game, because if they have an off week and they let up 34 and it's 34-7, I'm going to be like, what the heck?
Yeah. Now the Browns. Here, man, let's talk about Cleveland. Because to wrap up with the Jets, there's still more to come. And Eric says look for the draft for them. I say look for the second-tier free agents, because I think that's really where they're going to make their money.
Yeah, we'll see where they fill in holes there. But let's
Cleveland, man.
You might want to raise that 2019 division AFC North Division championship banner now.
Well, I mean,
I've been hyping them already since the beginning of the year when they drafted Mayfield, and I've said on this show many times that 2020 could easily be their year.
I just don't see Kinchin. I mean, he may win the division by default, but I don't see him. Man, could you imagine
that offense? On. Okay,
could you imagine Spurrier in Cleveland?
No, because I understand what Greg Williams did last year when he took over for Hugh. Finally, he was there 34 games too long. But Greg Williams actually added something the Browns haven't had in a long time. And that was attitude, stability, accountability, okay? And then Kitchens was elevated from his position that he held to offensive coordinator. And so, because Kitchens was going to probably get a head coaching job elsewhere, the Browns didn't want to lose him.
Well,
to me, that was a Tampa effect.
Yeah.
Tampa, I think, did wrong. I think the Browns did right. He doesn't agree with me. That's fine. He doesn't have to. But I think his offense, which is still installed in Cleveland, is going to only help Baker go forward. They have Jarvis Landry. They have Nick Chubb. Okay? I've been saying, and I haven't heard any rumors if it was going to happen, but I've been saying I wouldn't be surprised if Joe Thomas came out of retirement.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised. They signed Kareem Hunt. We don't know how long he's going to be suspended for. I don't think it really matters.
Do you remember The Mummy?
Yeah.
Okay. You remember the line where he's like, "Do not open that book." Mm-hmm. I'm an Alabama fan. Okay. I know Kinchins. Wow. And he better be saying, "Do not open the film," because if Baker Mayfield sees him as quarterback, he's going to look at this man and go, why are you not selling used cars at the local dealership? How the heck are you coaching when your play was so poor in Alabama that you made, like, I don't even have an analogy. He was so bad. Like, there are very few times in my life as a fan of a professional, of any team, where it's painful to be a fan. The Tony Banks years with the Rams. That was painful. I used to tell
every quarterback between Jim McMahon and Jay Cutler, and even Cutler sucked.
But even still, you had some okay ones. Walsh, Kramer, right? With the Rams.
Not to mention Peter Tom Willis.
Oh my goodness.
Craig Krenzel.
I didn't say
Henry Burris. Oh Cordell Stewart. Should I keep going? Cade McDowell.
Look, I used to tell Eric that right now, I might as well have testicular cancer because it's just as painful as being a Rams fan when Tony Banks was there, right? Kinchins was the same way with Alabama.
His offense last year in Cleveland worked really well.
It did, but and I'm not saying that Kinchin isn't going to be a good coach. And yes, those that can't do coach and sometimes coach very well. I agree with that. Okay? But what I don't know and why I'm holding off on jumping on that bandwagon is I don't know if the Browns' success was because of the leadership that Greg Williams showed, and that rubbed off on the offense because they wanted to win for him to keep his job, or if it was Kinchin's offense.
Mixture of both. Mixture of both. And so Cleveland decided then to let Greg go because they wanted
to keep Kinchin.
And I know we haven't touched on it yet, but here we go. Cleveland Browns traded for Odell Beckham Jr. for Jabril Peppers, the 17th overall pick in the first round in 2019, and also they have 2 picks in the third round in 2020. They traded their second pick to the Giants.
Which I think is, and in case you're wondering, well, who's the second pick? It's actually a good question. And that second pick, I believe, I may be wrong, I think they got it from the Jets a few years ago. So if the Jets have a bad year, that could be a very high third-round pick.
Right.
So it's not a bad move.
Cleveland's going for it. They see their window. They see the destruction happening
in Pittsburgh,
an hour and a half away from them to the east. Cincinnati has a new coach.
It's a dumpster fire.
Baltimore
is a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
It's a dumpster fire.
And
they're looking at that going, the division is burning, and we have already – they're the Phoenix. They've already risen from their ashes.
Better the division burning than the lake.
That's a shot across the bow, Cleveland. Look.
Hey, the dog pound is going to be out in full force.
Oh, it's going to be
the
great.
Next few years.
It's going to be great. Now they've got to, I think, address the O-line in the draft.
Yeah.
But we'll see what they do. But, yeah, Odell Beckham's a big signing, and then they had free agency. Who did they sign?
They actually also, by the way, got Olivier Vernon
Yep.
from the Giants as well in a trade about a few days ago from before the Odell Beckham trade.
So that's an edge rusher. So yeah, the Browns look good right now, and for me, it's the Kinchin effect. We'll find out. I mean, look, I'll be honest. When the Rams signed Sean McVay, I'm like, what? What did we do? Who?
I said the same thing when the Bears hired Matt Nagy. I was like, who's Nagy?
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't give Kareem Hunt the ball in the second half against Pittsburgh or Tennessee in the playoff game? How? What?
Yeah.
Oh, we got hit? Great.
Yeah.
Andy Reid's coaching tree.
Yeah, right? Fantastic.
And how many touches did Tariq Cohen get against Philadelphia?
Yeah, well, how many touches did Gurley have against the Patriots? 10? Yeah, 2. I don't even know. It was like 2 in the second half. It was retarded.
Non-existent, really.
Anyway, sore subject. So, moving on to the Raiders. You want to touch on them?
Absolutely. This all stems from last year. John Gruden, 10 years, $100 million contract. The Raiders say, we're going to rebuild. Gruden basically saying we're going to rebuild. Gruden was basically his own head coach and GM because they fired Reggie McKenzie, which left an opening, which didn't get filled for a year, or a little over a year. They trade Khalil Mack to the Bears. They trade Amari Cooper to the Cowboys, and they were hoping both the Bears and the Cowboys were going to have bad years so they could have like three top 15 picks, but Bears and Cowboys made the playoffs, mainly thanks to Cooper and Mack. So they get the 24th and the 27th pick in the NFL draft, along with their third overall pick.
Now, I want to say something here before you go on. Khalil Mack is a head-scratcher, right? I will not understand that trade.
It was all about the money they had in escrow, which they said they had none.
But considering, let's look at this. Amari Cooper, Cowboy fans, I'm going to really enjoy listening to you talk about how you're going to the Super Bowl and how great you are and how Amari Cooper's the next Michael Irvin. Because next year, when he drops 3 out of every 6 passes, when he can't get open against subpar corners, when he quits on routes and gets intercepted and gets his quarterback intercepted, and he starts to play like he did in Oakland, you're going to understand why the Raiders traded him. On the flip side, who did the Raiders replace him with? They didn't replace him last year. They replaced him this year. And I would argue they replaced him with the best wide receiver since Jerry Rice.
They made an upgrade. Okay, so here's how I see it. I see a rejuvenated Amari Cooper. Okay? However, Amari Cooper is not the problem in Dallas. Ezekiel Elliott is not the problem in Dallas. Dak Prescott isn't the problem in Dallas. Who is their owner? Who is their director of football operations? Who is their president? Who is their head trainer? Who is their janitor? Jerry Jones. Mm-hmm. I've been saying it for years that Jerry Jones gets in his own way.
He does.
Okay? He has to relinquish at least the GM duties for the Cowboys to take off. And once he does that,
they will.
Before he passes on, because he is getting up there in age. He's not going to be around forever. We all know that.
Well, maybe he'll just go to a local massage parlor in Miami.
Maybe.
Doesn't that explain?
I'm sure Giants, Eagles, and Redskins fans can only be so lucky.
You know, I think we have an answer on why the Patriots play so poorly in Miami every year.
Maybe.
It's never a happy ending in Miami.
Football trips to the parlor. Anyways.
Maybe it is a happy ending in Miami, but just before the game starts.
They come to the locker room.
You said game to the locker room.
That's a lot of cleanup.
Oh, clean up on aisle 4, 14, 7.
Anyways,
okay, go ahead.
So back to the Raiders. So the Raiders.
We are keeping it PG. Trust me, this can get a lot worse with us.
The Raiders actually made the biggest hire and the biggest signing that I think the NFL could have not hoped for. But it's the NFL, the rest of the NFL.
Oh, okay.
Because this guy to be, I've been following him since he was broadcasting Notre Dame games. He knows his stuff.
Oh, you're really?
GM Mike Mayock, yes.
Really?
I'm a big Mike Mayock fan, absolutely. Yes.
Wow, all right.
I think he's one of the great football minds out there. If you haven't had a chance to listen to him or see any shows, Mike Mayock knows what he's doing.
He does.
And he pulled off one of the greatest heists in NFL history, and that was trading for Antonio Brown, making the...
third and fifth is all they gave up, wasn't it?
Third and fifth is all they gave up.
That's
highway
insane.
robbery. They also made Pittsburgh give him a new deal, so now he costs $21 million against their dead money cap this year. So that hurts them in that aspect. So Antonio Brown basically wormed his way out of a deal to Buffalo by saying he wouldn't report there, which I don't know how you get away with that, because if I trade for you and you don't sign, guess what I don't have to do? I don't have to pay you. So guess who's going to wither away? You. And guess what I could do with my first round pick? Wide receiver. Or I could go sign Cole Beasley and John Brown and whatnot and still hold your rights. Okay? So they sign it. They get Antonio Brown. They give him a
wait a minute though.
deal.
Do you really want to go through in Buffalo what the Steelers went through in Pittsburgh for him?
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, if he's not happy there, why would you trade for him? He was that close to being traded to Buffalo. That close. But the Raiders reap the benefits. I'm curious to see what his numbers are going to be like with Derek Carr. I don't think they're going to come close to what he was doing in Pittsburgh with Ben. And people gave Ben a lot of crap for not getting the ball to Antonio Brown. Well, he still put up the numbers last year that he did as the second best wide receiver on the team. Hands down. Juju Smith-Schuster took over the reins, but he's more of a slot receiver. And I don't know how Pittsburgh's going to get around that by putting him on the outside, if they do.
I'm going to say something you're going to disagree with.
Okay. That's why we do the show.
David Carr is retired. Derek Carr. Words are hard. Okay?
Alex Barron?
Yeah. The freaking fighter pilot from World War I who is German. Wow. Okay, and by the way, his nickname was the Red Baron, but I digress. So, and I don't even know if his first name was Alex now. I'm sorry, I'm going off on a tangent. Back to this.
Alexa.
I don't have her. She creeps me out. Look, I don't do Google either. Google, can you tell me where Walmart is? I can't tell you how to burn down a bookstore in Afghanistan. I was like, I never even said that. Like, I don't know why she wants to do this. But I guess, I mean, kind of on speed dial. Okay, look, the bottom line is...
Really? Sorry, delayed reaction. Did I really hear that?
No. Derek Carr.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, by the way. Derek Carr I think he's right now has the potential is like saying, you know, potential is the same.
He's making my case for me.
Okay, I'm not going to say he's better than Ben,
No.
but I will say he's as good as Ben right now.
Well, you look at their ages, 37 to, 28?
Right? So you look at what AB's turning in. And I will say this.
AB's 30.
But you turn around and you have to me, I look at Derek Carr's career and my heart kind of breaks a little bit for the kid. Right? He had 2 receivers that were incapable of catching an NFL football. They were incapable of running routes to the full degree that they were required to be run. They quit on routes and they quit on games and they quit on him. And when that happens and your offensive line is blocking and blocking and blocking and blocking, you suddenly look pedestrian. He had one good year in Oakland, and conversely, those are the years, or that was the year, that his receivers actually caught the football when they were thrown to him. I love the ripping apart of quarterbacks that we do in the NFL. Because at the end of the day, it's like you don't watch any football games. You know, I argued this point fully. When the Rams played New England in Jared Goff's rookie year, I think Jared Goff played one of his best games in New England. He had that ball on the money on a number of occasions. There were 16. That's 1 and a 6. 16 drop passes in that game. I mean, dropped. They were wide open.
It happens.
But how's that the quarterback's fault?
It's not.
He can't catch the ball for those guys. So
was Michael Crabtree on your team?
No, we had friggin' what's his name? Britt. Kenny Brickhands Britt.
He's better.
Oh my gosh, that's what I used to call him, is Kenny Brickhands. So for me, I think Carr gets the benefit now of somebody who's got sticky fingers. Is somebody who can get open, and he's got that great tight end. You know he's not going to give up on the tight end. Jared Cook. So, I think we should see a much better Carr year.
Don't forget that we mentioned that LaMarcus Joyner signed there.
Yep.
And then they also signed.
Is it an upgrade, though? Who did they have at safety? I think it's an upgrade. I mean, look, I think the Rams added by subtraction when they let him go, and then they signed Weddle, which we just basically re-signed Joyner, in my opinion.
And they also upgraded their offensive line. They signed Trent Brown, formerly of the Patriots.
That's what I was thinking.
4 years, $66 million. And apparently, from what I understand, that deal took 9 minutes to complete. Hey, you want $66 million? Yeah. Okay, go ahead and sign. Wait, hold on. 4 years? 4 is good.
These.
Hey, Mark, can I get a signature on this?
So that's my other question is, how many more linemen can the Patriots really afford to lose? With a 49-year-old quarterback.
They churn out. They may have missed Nate Solder back in the early part of the year, but he didn't do anything. He didn't do much with the Giants. Trent Brown, the Patriots traded a 3rd and a 5th for Trent Brown, okay? And then they let him go, and they're going to get a 3rd-round compensatory pick next year.
And the thing that kills me with this is you look at the Patriots, who they lose in free agency, and you're like, oh, my God.
They don't want to pay people.
No. And you're like, oh, my God, that's going to kill them. And then they don't perform where they go. Mm-hmm. And then you look at, we didn't talk about this, but Sheldon Richardson re-signed with the Browns. Yeah. They had drafted him. He was garbage. He was nothing but a fat doughboy in the middle that was getting pushed all over the lot. He goes to New England, is a rock, wins a championship. The Browns are like, come back home. He gets his big payout. How much you want to bet he's big fat doughboy all over again?
Somebody will do. Look, I heard this comparison that the Washington Redskins have 7 former Alabama players. And they're like, hey, who else can we get? Alabama, plays really good and gets to the championship. Maybe we can replicate it. And then the Lions hire their head coach, former DC in New England. They signed wide receiver Danny Amendola, who was a Patriot.
Mm-hmm.
They signed Trey Flowers, who where did he play? Oh yeah, he played in New England.
Well,
so
see,
they're trying to replicate this. It doesn't work.
No, look, the Patriots are. I'm starting to get into basketball a little bit, just a little bit, not modern basketball. That's the funny thing. I'm getting into the older stuff, like from the 70s and 80s, and 90s. What we're experiencing in Boston, we've seen before. Well, we haven't seen before, but our parents have. Just in basketball, when the Celtics went to like 52 straight NBA finals. It's an exaggeration, by the way. I think it was 11. Seriously.
11 out of 13 years.
Yeah, it was insane. Insane. That's what we're seeing, right? And Washington, Eric, you gave one of my favorite statistics you've ever given on this show was the Redskins. When you talked about how over the last 64 games, they were like 32-32, right? Mm-hmm. Which blew my mind. Now let's look at these free agent moves, right? Or this offseason. The Redskins are 1-1. Unbelievable signing in Landon Collins. And then the WTF moment of this entire thing was the signing of Case Keenum. The trading for him. You're like, oh, and like Redskin fans like, we got Landon Collins! We got why did we get Case Keenum? I need migraine medicine.
And Mark Sanchez is still on the team.
Oh my god! It's like my wife, God bless her, but she's married to me, which is a problem enough, and she's a Redskin fan. That's why she gets so many headaches. I'm telling you. Once again, the Redskins continue this 500 trend. Yeah, I mean the Raiders. It's interesting that you brought up Mayock because, for me, the Mayock signing was more of a way to beat the system, Mike. Way to crack through the incestual shell of the NFL and actually be different. And I'm rooting for you. And I know you know your college kids, but how's this going to translate?
We'll find out. I mean, he's made some good moves in Oakland already.
Yeah.
And another big news out of Oakland is that they're going to be in Oakland another year.
Oh, that did get finalized.
Yeah, that did get finalized. So they're going to stay. They were talking about. I heard reports of them playing in London for a season. I was like, I heard them playing in San Francisco Giants baseball stadium for a season. That didn't go anywhere. But they re-upped their deal with Oakland.
Arizona was a serious consideration. The Cardinals were actually on board. So if you don't know, I'll tell you because I'm out here in Arizona. So you know how he told you that AB was almost a Bill? The Oakland Raiders, this is what I heard out here in Arizona. So the Oakland Raiders, after they kind of bantered around the San Diego idea, and San Diego really liked it, but the NFL stepped in and went, no. They talked to Arizona. The Cardinals ownership had a deal worked out where the Raiders are going to pay half the rent that they would have had to pay at the Coliseum if that deal did get finalized, and that they would essentially make, in the winter, the Cardinals were going to pay, this is crazy to me, the Cardinals are going to pay in the winter, so we're talking after Thanksgiving, basically, in Arizona. Okay, so right after the Sun Devils play the U of A Wildcats, that following Sunday that they were home, they were going to transfer from the Glendale Stadium to ASU Stadium, and they were going to play at Sun Devil Stadium for the final 2 home games or 4 home games, however many. Well, I think it would be 2 out of the 4 games, right? Because it's usually 5 games left in the season. So the final 4 home games they were going to play, or the final 2 home games they were going to play at ASU. So 6 in Glendale, 2 at ASU, and the Cardinals were actually going to pay the rental fee for those 2 games as a part of the agreement. In return, they would pay more to play in Glendale than they were going to pay at the Coliseum. So they were going to make their money that way. I thought that was an interesting deal, and the Raiders were basically, the NFL's like, if this is what you want to do, but then they worked something out with Oakland. So they were that close, in other words, to being here in Arizona for a year. That's a true story, too. So it's a little bit of a local news for you guys. So it was an interesting thing. Because I was looking at the numbers. Go, why would they pay for them to play at ASU for the last 2 games?
Why do they need to play at ASU for the last 2 games?
Wear and tear on the field. Well, we also live in a desert, and water and grass ain't easy. Water's kind of short here, okay? So, oh, the pot's coming. Just do that around the field, like, come on. But
if you got any Budweiser later on.
Yeah, there you go. Kill the field. Look, I don't know. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm glad the Raiders are in Oakland. I kind of didn't think the deal was going to be approved by the NFL, but the NFL looked like they were going to rubber stamp that deal with the Cardinals, but no need.
No need. Back where they should be playing the last year before they moved to Vegas.
That's where they should be playing. Period. They shouldn't be moving.
And
to Vegas.
now the Raiders have their billboard marketing player for Vegas.
AB. Yeah, they got their Mac after all. Just on the other side of the ball. All right. Well, I'm fat and I'm Anthony.
They call me Skinny Eric.
Really?
No.
I was going to say. They call him Pillsbury. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Peace. Oh, we got to do it. Horns up.
Bear down.
Go Rams.
Go Bears.
Boo Bears.
Go Rams.